Your body is getting calories, but your cells are starving. When I discovered body fat started melting off. Most diet and fitness culture is built around restriction, suffering, sacrifice.
You don't believe calories need to come down to lose the body fat?
If we're gonna talk about calories, we have to make sure we are talking about food. The best thing we can do for fat loss.
The vegetables are fallback foods for humans. Do you believe that?
Single ingredient, nutrient-dense whole food is exponentially better than the breakfast cereals. If fast food is the best part of your day, we have a lot of work to do.
Welcome back to another episode of Rebel Weight Loss and Lifestyle. I'm your host, Cristy Code Red, author, entrepreneur, retired professional boxer, and you guys know I do not have guests on very often to my podcast because I don't really trust people because they don't know how to do it. They got crappy audio. I don't know, and I get head up all the time from people. But I do know who Justin is. We have some mutual friends. He's been in the industry every bit as long as I have, and he knows what he's talking about. So I want to welcome Justin. Justin, please tell my audience, and I didn't even bother to even tell you who my audience is, but I think we have basically the same audience. But tell my audience who you are, introduce yourself, let us know what you do in this industry, what's going on with you.
Yeah, I think similarly to you, the way I describe it is I tend to be the guy that people come to when they've tried everything and nothing has worked. It's probably the most common thing you and I hear, but I came to this in a weird way, and I grew up in the 90s with the derogatory term of fat kid, and I was obsessed with, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone. So by age 15, I had pretty heavy body dysmorphia because of that and started lifting weights, 2 hours a day, and I did that all through high school, and then I became a professional musician, and I went to Berklee College of Music, and then I ended up down in Nashville. I was playing over 300 shows a year, had a reality TV show on ABC by the time I was 25. So it was like I went from high school body dysmorphia to now literally living under spotlights, and just my body dysmorphia got worse and worse and worse. And I've been following your journey for so long, so I know we have a lot in common where, I was boxing in Boston while going to Berklee. So I was waking up at 5 a.m. to lift weights and then riding my mountain bike to the Ring Boxing Club in Allston, Boston, to train there with Rodney Toney. And then when I got down to Nashville, it turned into CrossFit two-a-days and bodybuilding and Olympic lifting. And then I learned Strong First. One of the founders of Strong First taught me kettlebells. And then I was running Tough Mudders. And I was constantly approaching this through the lens of fitness while suffering with just tremendous body dysmorphia and living a very stressful life, right? I'm working basically what is graveyard shift. I'm on stage every night. I was going to bed at 6 o'clock in the morning, getting off stage at 3 a.m. And it wasn't until really about age 26 that I started really saying, this can't be it. I'm like 24% body fat and I'm training harder than anybody that I know. Like, this can't be a genetic thing. And that was when I discovered the paleo diet. I did my first paleo reset and body fat started melting off. I'm like, this is a cheat code. There's something serious to this, And at that point, I was doing well in the industry. I owned a couple houses. I was doing these shows, and I just done the TV show and had a YouTube channel for my music and everything. So my days were kind of my own. And I just started studying. I became a nutritional therapist kind of as a hobby to take care of myself and learn about epigenetics. And around that time, my niece, Savannah, was born terminally disabled. So she was having over 300 seizures a day. She was put straight into the pediatric ICU. She was given less than 3 years to live. They put a hole in her belly. They installed something called the G-tube, where she had to be fed through a tube. She couldn't eat or drink. And what they do with infants that have seizures, they assume epilepsy and they put them on a ketogenic diet. As some may know of the keto diet in the social media realm, right? But it's actually a medical diet for the treatment of seizures. And lo and behold, the formula, it's made by Gerber. It's called KetoCal. It's in every pediatric ICU in the country. Gerber's owned by Nestle, and the ingredients are awful. It's high fat, low carb, but it's all hydrogenated vegetable oils and artificial flavors and sweetenings. All of the vitamins are synthetic versions of vitamins. So I brought it to the attention of the Vanderbilt neurologist there, and he said, I never thought to check that. And that's kind of where my journey began. I was like, okay, no one's coming to save us. This is crazy. I ended up making a baby formula in my kitchen with like nutrient-dense whole foods and then giving that to Savannah, which later became my first e-commerce product, which is where I eventually heard about you and I found ClickFunnels and all these things. I became an entrepreneur and I just started sharing my journey online in a Facebook group. And teaching people what I was learning about human metabolism. Rob Wolf helped me out. He started sending me biology and biochemistry textbooks and saying, hey, go straight to the textbooks and learn how your body works. And I just started sharing on Facebook. And, that was, a little over 8 years ago that I started actually doing Facebook. And here we are. It's like, almost 1 million followers later and thousands of lives transformed. And yeah, and I ended up, really, I'm known online as like the food versus poison guy, trying to help people see like health and wellness can really be simplified if you just stop poisoning yourself. Your body desperately wants to be healthy, and you just keep getting in the way. And really, like, the hill that I'm willing to die on more than anything these days, what I'm really helping people understand, is that your health and wellness journey is really a personal development journey. It's a self-love, it's a self-worth journey. Can you love yourself enough and believe that you are worthy enough to experience optimal health and wellness? And if so, it's much easier to get out of your own way and make fantastic decisions that lead to rapid results very quickly, like the transformations you have on your Instagram page.
So many things I want to ask you right now. My mind, I had no idea that was your story. Oh my gosh, Justin, that's crazy. So many things. So I want to say, I bet you're super excited about RFK Jr. coming on board and taking on the industry for sure. So 88% of this country is metabolically sick and broken and overweight, and we've got we've got more obesity is killing more people than drugs and alcohol combined. This is a serious problem. What do you think, in your opinion, is the biggest reason for this obesity epidemic we're seeing?
Yeah, I mean, fundamentally, I believe on a tactical level, it is food versus poison, right? It's like, and the thing is, you could take a child who knows, I mean, at a certain age, and just tell them, like, you if I give you two foods, like let's say a ribeye steak and a bag of Doritos, and I say you have two choices. Each of these foods must be labeled either food or poison. You can only pick one, right? Everyone's going to say the steak is food, and everyone's going to say the bag of Doritos is poison. Across the board, we all kind of know what to do. And that's RFK's whole thing. Is like, if your entire diet is made of ultra-processed, hyper-palatable foods that were made in a lab, like, you're going to struggle. And yes, we can talk about calories and macros if you want to get on stage like you've done, or I work with professional MMA fighters and we do weight cuts, and I'm focusing on like helping female fighters do their weight cuts without getting amenorrhea and losing their cycle, right? It's like, it's so basic. It's like a computer. If you put the right code into the computer, the operating system works perfectly. If you put lines of code that are viruses, the operating system's going to malfunction. So what we're doing with human bodies, it's like injecting a virus into a computer and then being mad at the computer for not working properly. So what I'm seeing that's so terrible with this is like, yes, it's food versus poison, but it's also, this is a controversial opinion that I have, is one of the primary reasons for this health crisis we have in America is the illusion of authority. Because we were all raised from the time that we were little children that somebody else knows better than we do. If they have a lab coat, they know better than we do. If they have letters behind their name, they know better than we do. So if we go into the doctor, and this happens to me all the time with women, where they're like, no, I'm eating 1,200 calories a day. I'm still storing body fat. Something is wrong here. And yes, we can talk about binging on the weekends and all these things, but women so commonly are gaslit in their experience. And it's just, nobody's listening to them. We are always looking at it like the human themselves. There's something wrong with the human. The human is broken. And this beats down self-worth. It beats down self-love. No matter how hard, especially women, 85% of my clients are women. Most of them are middle-aged. Most of them are sedentary. They don't have a history of fitness like we do. And they're just being beaten down, and they really feel like my body is the problem. My mind is the problem, my self-worth, and it eats away at them. And I'm trying to help them understand that instead of looking at the body as broken, we should at the very least be willing to question the information that we're being given. Because when you have things like the American Heart Association stamping their label of approval on Cocoa Krispies, it's a very confusing world that we live in. So we do food versus poison. Yes, we're going to cover that. And I give my clients a food list and I teach them how to eat. But every single new client that comes to me, the first thing I have them do is stand in a mirror, look themselves in the eyes, and say, I love you 10 times, and really try to mean it. Because we have to get to a place where we feel worthy of optimal health and wellness. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Was that where it's hard to think of guys having body dysmorphia and having, like a self-loathing, were you lean and you were kind of lean and ripped and you looked fine, but you just still didn't ever love yourself or didn't ever think you looked fine?
Yeah, oh, for sure. I mean, I've been 9% body fat and looking in the mirror and still hating what I see. It's like no matter, and that's the thing too, is right. I have this term that makes people very angry, but I say social media is full of infertile six packs. Right? So we have this situation, like you've been on stage, you understand this. And I like I said, I pride myself. My female fighters do not lose their period. They do not get amenorrhea, right? It's very important to me that that happens. So I want people to understand that, like, for me, I know exactly what to do to get down to 9% body fat. The last time I was 9% body fat, my testosterone dipped to 250 because I wasn't taking TRT. Now I'm 38 years old. I'm not on anything. I'm probably 14, 15% body fat, and my natural testosterone is 850, and I feel amazing. So I'm like, do I want to crush myself down to 250 so I can have a six-pack so that social media can tell me I'm good enough? Or do I understand I love myself so much? Do I have visible abs? Yes, I do. Amazing. Cool. Good for me, right? Do I look like Rocky in Rocky 4? No, I don't. Because I don't need to. I don't need that. I don't need the external validation. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, people like, and even competitors, we love the way we look on stage, but you only stay that way for about 37 seconds and then you start rehydrating and you can't function that way. Sex drive is so low. Everything just feels crappy. To look that good, you got to feel pretty crappy, and people don't, and even competitors don't. You start to get depressed as you gain back normal body fat. And I tell my girls, now I work mostly with menopausal women in their 60s and their 50s and 60s. And so a lot of them have gone through menopause, but I'm like, oh, no. It ain't a good thing. We don't want to lose our period. No. They're, that's not good. That's, we got to get that back. So so the first thing you do with your clients, they come to you and you work on the mind first.
Yeah, we work on the mind first, and then the thing that we have to get to is I always say that most diet and fitness culture, especially mainstream, is built around restriction, suffering, sacrifice. Like we came up in the fitness space, right? It's no pain, no gain, no pain, no gain. Yes, there's a lot to be gained there, right? Like I became a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. I went through a lot of suffering to get there, and it was tremendously beneficial for my life and my mindset and everything, right? But there's a fine line in this thing. Like it doesn't have to be suffering, sacrifice, restriction, pain all of the time. If you have big elite goals, you want to be an elite human being that's doing some crazy shit, like, yeah, you gotta get in it and you gotta go all in and you have to have that period of time. But like you said, even the competitors, they don't stay there for long, So we're starting with mindset, yes, but then I'm also flipping that. Instead of restriction, suffering, and sacrifice, we focus on nourishment, abundance, and the self-love piece. And the reason I say abundance is because I like to give people this light bulb moment. We have something in my programs. My company's called Clovis. We have something called Clovis babies. Clovis babies are around the infertility epidemic that we see all around the globe today. So a Clovis baby is when a woman comes to me and they have at least one failed attempt at IVF. So they are infertile, they're struggling to conceive. Sometimes they come to me with 3 failed rounds of IVF. They've dropped $100,000 on this issue. They come to me, we clean up the diet, we get all the poison out, we focus on food, and sometimes immediately double their food intake. And then we're 8, 9, 12, 15 months out, and I get a message, and it's a crying message, and it's, we're having a baby. And they've conceived naturally. So I use that term abundance because this constant just restrict calories as much as you can, where you get women down in the 1200s, the 1300s, 1100s, and they're wondering why they can't have a baby. It's like, well, again, the input. It's like putting a virus code into a computer. You're sending a signal to your body, which is a magnificent miracle adaptation machine. You're sending a signal of scarcity and famine in the environment. You're telling it, you're eating less than your resting metabolic rate, right? So you're telling your body, we don't have enough resources to keep us healthy. Why would we bring another mouth to feed into this environment? It doesn't make sense. So we can correct these issues very quickly when we focus on nourishment and healing instead of punishing and restriction.
Whenever a woman comes to me and she's within childbearing age, first of all, I don't really want to take her on. Give me the older ladies.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't want to. I don't want MTV Spring Break. I don't want. I don't want someone coming to me because they want to make their boyfriend's ex-girlfriend jealous. I want the older ladies. But if
Yeah, yeah.
someone comes to me and they're like, "Yeah, we'd like to have another baby," I'm just like, "Oh, whoa, that's kind of not what we do with Code Red. Like, we would love our thing is real food, water, and sleep. Anybody can do real food, water, and sleep." But I'm not doing a customized program for you because I'm here to like you need something different than what my menopausal women. I just focus on a little different of a thing, and I know with me. So I think that your approach to weight loss and fat loss is if we heal the body will shed naturally the bioaccumulated body fat. But so you don't believe that the calories need to come down in order to lose the body fat?
I think that calories in, calories out on its face is correct. It should work. But again, right, we're making the assumption, and this is the thing, like I talk about loving RFK, right? The last 8 years, I've been standing on the hilltops taking all the arrows, right? Getting called a quack and this is misinformation and this and that, right? I've never disagreed with thermodynamics. I've never said calories in, calories out is wrong. I've just said we're looking at it the wrong way, right? So like I have a cell phone case here. This cell phone case has a caloric content. Based on where calories come from and what they are and the way we're measuring potential energy, nearly everything has a caloric content of potential energy, right? If I eat 1,000 calories of cell phone case, my metabolism is not going to function the same way than if I ate 1,000 calories of steak, right? So on its face, we have to make sure we're talking about the same thing. If we're talking about food, then yes, we can talk about how calories work in the body. But from what I've seen is the best thing we can do for fat loss over the long term, right? And I'm sure you know this statistic, 95% of dieters gain all the way back within 5 years, right? Because everything they're doing is lowering metabolic rate. It's the metabolic adaptation that's lowering BMR. The body has no choice in energy scarcity but to slow things down, to decrease organ function, to decrease hormone production, all of these things, right? It's actually a better long-term strategy to increase metabolic rate by hyperloading nutrients, right? Nobody ever ended up on an episode of My 600-Pound Life by eating steak and fruit, let's say, right? It just doesn't happen because they're not breaking cellular function. So the calories in, calories out model is based on the idea of energy in, energy out. But that's not what's happening. If you have a car that has a full gas tank and no spark plugs, there is no energy to be had. There's no energy being created. The potential energy is not turning into actual energy. So I focus on creating more ATP, which is the cellular energy currency in the human body. We're making your cells produce more energy. All of my clients, we measure their body temperature 3 times per day at different times. And over a 90-day period, we track on a spreadsheet and we see their body temperature go up, 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 up. When like people that are considered clinically obese come to me, their first body temperature reading is sometimes in the 94s, like a 94-degree human body. Right? This is a walking corpse. And I want you to wake up at least 97.6, if not 98.2, somewhere around there, right? So it's very clear what's happening when you put the puzzle pieces together, that the way I describe it is more food or food in any amount is only good for you. Poison in any amount is only bad for you. So if we're going to talk about calories in, calories out, we have to make sure we are talking about food, species appropriate food that belongs in the human body. Red dye is not food. Seed oils are not food, right? As soon as we make that distinction, everything changes. And you actually don't have to worry about calories much unless you're trying to make a weight cut or hit 6% body fat so you can climb up on stage. Like then we have to talk about calories. But the average person, I think, has been completely duped by this idea that if you just eat less calories, you're going to get healthy. Because what you're really saying there is if we give the body less of what's good for it, you're going to get healthy. Doesn't really sound legit, right?
Yeah, I like that. Our average weight loss is 100 pounds. I mean, people come to us well over 220, and that doesn't scare us or anything. But we know, like, they all try to say that to me. I eat good, I eat good, I eat good. No, you don't, Karen. Just because you're having low fat ice cream doesn't mean that that's good. First of all, like you're totally, because we know ain't nobody getting fat off of potatoes. That's not why you bioaccumulated. 100 pounds overweight. You can't, so on the Clovis Lifestyle or in the Clovis community, basically it's paleo. Do you kind of stick with the paleo model for these
For
guys?
sure. Yeah, I think the only thing that we have on the foods list that's not paleo would be organic white rice. I think that's it. Everything else would be considered paleo. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, interesting. We know that they're not getting fat off of potatoes and carrots and stuff, and we know that's not happening. So you're able to accomplish everything with these guys that you want to accomplish, getting them down and healthy where they need to be with the paleo food list and adding in a little bit of the white rice.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing, right? I'm similar to you, right? And I can send people before and afters, or they're on Instagram or whatever, of like countless people that have lost over 100 pounds. And they're doing that without counting calories. And the biggest complaint that I get on my programs is they'll send me messages and say, how am I supposed to eat this much food? And the reason for that is because, again, if we're putting the proper code into the machine, the operating system works perfectly. Our hypothalamus and our taste buds and our digestive system is a beautiful symphony that works perfectly when we're eating food because it's getting data that tells it what to do, right? So people say, well, by what you're saying, you're telling me I could eat 10,000 calories a day of nutrient-dense whole foods and I wouldn't get fat? And I say, I'm telling you, there's no way you could eat 10,000 calories a day of nutrient-dense whole foods. You would get sick. You wouldn't be able to do it. But you could eat 10,000 calories of Domino's pizza very easily because your satiety hormones are not being triggered properly. And this is where we get to the protein piece of like, people really need to understand where your food system comes from. Like there are food engineers that make food addicting and they're hijacking the system that's designed to work perfectly. So for example, the umami taste buds on your tongue are meant to detect protein because historically that salty, savory, almost sweet flavor, you only would have gotten that from animal blood. So your body is triggered and it immediately gets to work releasing the perfect blend of stomach acids to digest animal protein. But if you're eating Pringles, your body is now saying, great, we got protein coming. And it starts to digest those Pringles and it's going, whoa, there's no protein here. We need more. And it sends a signal to your brain telling you to eat more food, which is why you have these slogans with like potato chips, like once you pop, you can't stop, or like bet you can't eat just one, right? You're literally hijacking this perfectly designed system. And all of a sudden, if all you have is ultra-processed junk in your house, you're going to eat anything that's not bolted to the ground because your body is getting calories, but your cells are starving.
Right.
And that's what we have to understand is like, am I saying you could eat 10,000 calories a day of any nutrient-dense whole food you want and not gain a pound? No, I'm not saying that. But I am saying you wouldn't be able to do that because your mechanisms would work properly because they're getting the right data.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as a capitalist, I commend, like, go ahead, make what you want. However, as someone who's in the weight loss industry, it's frustrating because it's engineered to be the most fulfilling food you've ever tasted in your life, but not nourish you on a cellular level. So your body just cries out for more, and you addict a customer, you get a customer for life. So you're friends with Paul Saladino. And I met him back when we were both speaking at KetoCon, and I've been following him ever since. He believes that the vegetables are fallback foods for humans. Do you kind of believe that?
Yeah, totally. I totally agree. And you see, my approved foods list is based on a number of things. It's like 1, nutrient density, 2, bioavailability, right? So if we take a bag of frozen spinach and that bag of frozen spinach says on the nutrition facts, it has this much calcium. Well, spinach also has something called oxalates, which are an anti-nutrient that prevent the absorption of that calcium from the spinach. So if you're eating raw spinach, let's say, you're going to digest less than 5% of the calcium that's even listed on the label. So 1, to get the same amount of calcium from vegetables, you'd have to eat a cement truck full of spinach to get to the calcium. And 2, most of the calcium actually isn't available to the human body. We don't have the digestive processes to extract those nutrients from that food, right? So I do think that there's a bit of fear-mongering. And by the way, Paul is a dear friend of mine. The CGM data in his carnivore code book is my CGM data. I've been in this carnivore world. I did pure carnivore for a year, and it tanked my health. It was not a good thing. And so I understand this, and I've gone deep into this stuff. I think there's a lot of fear-mongering that can happen around like all plants are trying to kill you, right? And there are extreme versions of this. I mean, there are people who have been in wheelchairs and you remove oxalates from their diet and they can walk again. Like there's astounding things that happen. But the reason for that is because the metabolic environment is so weak. So what we're talking about here, low metabolic rate and all these things, if you have a low metabolic rate, your immune system doesn't function properly. So if I'm firing on all cylinders, I have a high core body temperature and I'm super healthy, I don't have poison in my diet every day, and I consume oxalates, it doesn't matter. My body's gonna be like, cool, I can handle this. Now, if I start eating 2 pounds of spinach every day, maybe I'll have a problem, you know? But I do tend to agree. I think what he calls animal-based now is like the core, the primary nutrients in your diet should be coming from animal proteins. And that's why the first page of my foods list is called super proteins. This is where you'll find like beef collagen and like beef liver and things like that. There are super proteins that are gram for gram the most nutrient dense foods on the planet, which just means for listeners that don't know this, it contains the most vitamins and minerals per gram. And that's the data. The vitamins and minerals are what's making everything move, right? We have food comes in and we have beta oxidation and glycolysis, then down through the citric acid cycle to the electron transport chain, and then we're using hydrogen to create ATP, right? Like how does that all happen? There's steps in between. And all of those steps require cofactors and enzymes, which are these vitamins and minerals and proteins, all these different things.
So because our food, our soil is deficient in vital minerals, right from the get-go, nowadays, and they weren't before because we are bastardizing our crops. It's just terrible. We are finding that our even the most organic, well-intentioned crops are missing vital nutrients. Do you suggest or require, or however I'm going to say that, for the Clovis community to consume a certain, I don't know what your, if you have a supplement line that you're like, hey, everybody take, I know on Code Red, everybody takes a MAG and a D3 every day. And then we have other supplements that can fill in the gaps, like a multivitamin if they need it. Do you kind of have are you on the same page with your people?
Totally. Yeah. So I own a supplement brand as well called Clovis. And actually my what would be my flagship product, the daily superfood powder, which is basically a collagen protein that's like an all-in-one. It's got MCT oil, it's got vitamin C, vitamin B12, it's got everything in it. It's like I threw the kitchen sink at it. That is the baby formula that I made for my niece in my kitchen. So I was like, okay, this is like basic human biology. These are the nutrients that people are deficient in, like your products, right? 2/3 of Americans are deficient in magnesium. That's incredibly important, right? So supplements can play a huge role. All of my supplements are optional in my programs, as I think that they just kind of layer on top of the perfect things that we're already doing. But you're right. My company Clovis, through my friendship with Rob Wolf and Diana Rogers, I helped fund the documentary film Sacred Cow back in 2016. That's about the importance of soil nutrient density. Critically important, right? So there are a lot of things we're not getting because of the soil problems. All that said, right, I tend to think that what ends up happening is we start thinking about like the last 5% before the first 95%. So food, right, food as medicine, food versus poison, is the base of the pyramid. I actually just did an Instagram reel on this because people always ask me, they're like, well, do I need to be eating 100% grass-fed, grass-finished beef? Do I need to be getting pasture-raised organic eggs? Because this stuff is so expensive, I just can't do it. I'm like, listen, any single ingredient, nutrient-dense whole food that you eat is exponentially better than the Doritos or the Oreos or the breakfast cereals with the cartoon character on it. Right? So get whatever eggs you can afford, whatever beef you can afford, whatever fish you can afford, right? Later on down the line, we can talk about if you want to actually optimize some of these things to really maximize the nutrient content. But most people are going from a standard American diet to what you and I coach. And it is going to improve their life, period, regardless of if they're going to the perfect organic pasture-raised farm and getting $13 dozen eggs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not going to move the needle that like people think you gotta nail those basics. We're trying to get people out of the drive-thru and into the kitchen, and they're spending thousands of dollars on a red light therapy machine when they're still doing. And I go, you can't red light therapy your way out of the Arby's drive-thru. It just doesn't work that way. You can't undo the damage of all this junk. Well, it's just this once. Well, it's just this one Costco sample. It's just this one Costco slice of pizza. You're just this oncing yourself into being so sick, and then you're sitting in front of a red light therapy machine. Come on, Karen. Like I spoke at a big biohacking summit in Florida here last year, a couple of years ago, and it was all these, and there are thousands of people, and I was the very first speaker, and the first thing I said was, you can't biohack your way out of the Arby's drive-through, and it just it made everybody, it was cringy because you guys are all looking for that magic pill, and it's not there. And especially with bodybuilding, everybody wants to go on PEDs, and I'm like, shoot, you're not gonna. Your diet has to be perfect for a long amount of time.
Yeah.
Your workouts had to be perfect. Sleep, hydration's got to be perfect. And then maybe if you want to turn pro, you can maybe move the needle a little bit with PEDs. It's so far, but that's all automatically people want to jump to.
Totally. 100%. It's so fun. I had the same experience. I was in Orlando speaking at an event, and it was all entrepreneurs in the crowd. So like 270 entrepreneurs. Everyone there is 7 figures. There's 9-figure people out in the audience, right? They have all the resources in the world, which can be a problem because they can install a $250,000 hyperbaric oxygen treatment tank in their house, And I'm on stage, same thing, every question. What blood marker should I test? How many minutes in the cold plunge? Do you do red light therapy? What peptide should I take for blah, 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 blah? And I just took a breath, held the microphone, and I said, listen, let's take a beat. Question for the audience: how many people in the crowd right now identify as a biohacker? Like 3 hands go up out of almost 300 people. I was like, exactly. So if you're asking me questions about red light and cold plunges, and you're still getting through the day with Doritos and Red Bull at your computer 12 hours a day with no sunshine on your skin, we're asking the wrong questions, and you're doomed to repeat these patterns of failure, right? Like most digital entrepreneurs, not in great shape. It doesn't go well when you live on your computer, So it's like, guys, you're really doing yourself a disservice by focusing on that last 5%. Exactly like you said, you're not going to red light your way out of the Arby's drive-thru.
So when people come to you, I'm sure with us, weight loss ends up being like number 5 down on the list. What are some things that they notice when they start implementing your protocol? Like bam, bam, bam. What are some of the improvements that they notice? I would say right off the bat. I mean, yeah, things are going to happen right off the bat, but it takes time to reverse these years and decades of damage.
Yeah, one of the primary things is very quick sleep improvement, sleep quality improvement, right? I'm sure you get this all the time, but the number of people that reach out to me, they're like, I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I can't fall back to sleep. Like I'm exhausted at the end of the night after my glass of wine or whatever, right? And I fall asleep and then I wake up at 3 a.m. and it takes me 2 hours to fall back to sleep and then I feel terrible the next day. That is low energy availability. When you're sleeping, your body is doing almost all of its repair mechanisms. It's rebuilding tissue, it's doing lymphatic drainage of your brain, lymphatic drainage, all these different metabolic processes are going on. And most people, especially people that are dieting, are way under eating nutrients. They may be overeating calories, but they're under eating nutrients. So what's happening is your body is spiking stress hormones and saying, we don't have enough energy to do what we should be doing right now. Please go eat food. And this is very quick to fix because I'll tell people, like, literally, if you wake up, go take some electrolytes, drink a little bit of orange juice or have a banana or something, and you'll be back asleep in 20 minutes, like very quickly. And they're like, yeah, you're right, I fell back asleep. But if you're fueling properly through the day, that's one of the most common things that happens very quickly is they're like, dude, my sleep is amazing. This is incredible. Number 2 is energy and mood, and I think those things go hand in hand. Is especially women are realizing like, oh, I didn't snap at my husband this morning, or I didn't feel like, angry in traffic or whatever. And like, it's all energy, right? I know in clinical studies, I've studied this. Depressed and anxious subjects generate 20% less ATP on average than non-depressed and anxious subjects, right? So your mood changes very quickly. Your cognitive function changes very quickly. And then like a lot of my women are moms, right? So they're showing up better for their kids. They're not so annoyed. They're not so upset. Just the quality of life in general is an exponential improvement. And then something I pride myself on, I have people that have been working with me for over 3 years now, because as you and I know, the entrepreneurial journey is a fast path to freedom. So the Wendy's drive-thru or the Arby's drive-thru, I always say, listen, if the Arby's drive-thru, if that first bite of fast food is the best part of your day, we have a lot of work to do. Because once they stop poisoning themselves with all the toxins in their food and they start thinking clearly and they have a better mood and they feel better and they're doing their daily mirror work every day, it becomes, ooh, I'm spending 40 hours a week in a place that doesn't treat me well and I hate it and I don't feel fulfilled there. Or maybe I've helped women leave abusive relationships, right? All of a sudden, the things you're willing to tolerate for yourself change. So the clients that have been with me for 3 years, it's because we got the food right. They lost all the weight and then they quit their job. And maybe I helped them start a business, or they moved to a different state because they're like, I've been saying for 20 years that I hate winters. Why do I live here? And then they go somewhere they want to live, right? Their whole life starts to improve in dramatic ways. And this is why, this is why there are Clovis tattoos in the world. People have my brand tattooed on their skin because it was such a radical life transformation that started with the base of the pyramid. Stop poisoning yourself and your life will improve.
Man, that's incredible. I know that I have been open about struggling with binge eating. I call myself the binging bodybuilder. I manage my binge eating while still keeping six-pack abs. And I have been, we all, I would like to say we all have our crap. I don't think some people have their crap. But do you still battle with things, or you have pretty much that nip in the bud?
Yeah, but mine, it sounds like we may be similar in the masochism part of it, right? Like, I'm 38. I think it's probably been a year and a half that I'm capable of, I start the morning with a cold plunge. I'm just now at the point where I can step out into the backyard and look at the cold plunge, and I can take a breath and I can feel, oh, I'm very stressed. This is not good for me right now. And I can turn around and I can walk away. I could not do that. My self-worth was built on the things that I am willing to do to be elite, right? So I was not capable of, I don't care. It's like, don't be a bitch, right? I don't care how you feel today. I don't care that you're stressed. David Goggins is stressed too, and look at what he's doing, right? And it was through really Jungian depth psychology, which is what I now teach in my programs. I did years of Jungian depth psychology, a lot of somatic release work. I teach a masculinity program called King versus Prince that helps men move, because I meet 50-year-old princes every day that have never graduated to their king energy. This is part of it, right? The hard work for David Goggins is to actually address the demons that he's running from. That's very challenging for high performers, right? So that was the big struggle of self-worth for me. Was I had all the accolades as the musician. I had the TV show. I made the money. I did all the things, right? Therefore, I'm amazing. People love me because I do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? So it's like, who am I if I don't have any of that stuff? Who am I if I don't have money, if I don't have fame? Who am I if I don't get in the cold plunge? Am I now just like a disgusting, lazy sloth scumbag because I didn't get in the cold plunge? Because my brain will try to tell me that's the case, right? So I still struggle with this. Or like, I went to Burning Man this year, and coming up to Burning Man, I'm like 6 weeks out from Burning Man, and I'm like, I got to get abby. I got to make those abs pop. I'm going to have my shirt off at that place, right? And and I could feel myself wanting to move into all the old things. Like, let's go intermittent fasting, low carb. I'm going to do way more cardio. I'm going to do 10-minute cold plunges. Like, I'm going to do like I'm doing a weight cut, right? And I caught myself, and I'm like, I want to enjoy this experience. I don't want to go there depleted. And it's going to be a stressful experience. You stay up all night and you sleep during the day, and there's partying going on, all this stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to feel terrible at this experience. So I didn't let myself go there. I didn't actually restrict any food at all. I just did a little bit longer cold plunges because I like that. I did like 13-hour intermittent fasting instead of 18-hour intermittent fasting. Did like a few extra stationary bike cycling sessions in the weeks leading up. And I got a little leaner and my abs popped a little bit. And I didn't kill myself to do it. But that's very new. I am here for the masochism. And that's old lack of self-worth, those patterns creeping in.
Man. Oh, man. You're right, man. That speaks to me for sure. And it actually feels good to hear you say that, because I definitely, now that I'm hearing you say that, I'm like, oh, Cristy, you got some more work to do. So I know that what people are hearing right now, it's really resonating with them. What is the best? And listen, Code Red Rebels, I know you guys love me, but listen, I'm all for you doing what is right for you. If Justin is right for you, please go join the Clovis Lifestyle. Please go join the Clovis family and in the Clovis community. I will always be here for you. You can watch me doing funny dances in my bathroom anytime you want. But if this is a better fit for you, I would rather see you and your husband go and join Clovis and say, yeah, this is really ticks more of the boxes. We are all different. We are all working towards the same thing. We're trying to make America healthy again. We're trying to make sure that people are functioning the way they should, because so many of you guys are functioning so subpar. You wake up drained. You just like, don't come on. We know that you're not living even a fraction of the way you should. So Justin, how can people reach you if they are interested in joining your community, or at least learning more about you?
Yeah, I do everything on a very personal one-on-one level. So the best way to do this is to go to Instagram. It's Justin Nault Official. Click the follow button, send me a DM, and it will be me. It's not a team member. It's me. I'm gonna ask what you got going on. If you want the foods list, I'll give it to you for free. If you want the daily mirror work exercise, I'll give it to you. I'll give you resources that point you in the right direction. And like you said, I don't actually believe in competition. I think our rising tide is raising all the ships of making America healthy again. And what I'll say is maybe the difference. I don't know. I haven't gone deep on your exact protocols, but mine is going to be like, listen, if you have a pattern of being a people pleaser or self-betraying or agreeing to things you don't want to agree to, right? I always tell people that the unhealthy version of you exists because you're living out of alignment with your best life. So I'm the guy that's going to go in the brain and the heart, and we're going to poke around, and we're going to see in your life, where are you self-betraying? Where are you not standing up for yourself? Where are you settling for things that you don't actually want? And really go deep on the self-worth side. So it's like, if you feel like you have some of those patterns in your life, just reach out to me. We'll have a conversation, and I can point you in the right direction to overcoming some of those obstacles.
Everybody knows that I'm not good at the mental mindset coaching. I'm just not, and I'm just kind of like, listen, Karen, I ain't got time for your bull crap. Eat what I say, get to bed, drink your water, stop it. And I don't go deep with I just don't, and I'm not good at it. My dad's a licensed counselor, so I do leave this kind of thing for people like you that really are good at it. Guys, hit Justin up on Instagram for sure. Go see what he has to offer. This is really some serious work, and be ready to do the work. You don't just do this because New Year, New Me is coming up. Do this because you want to not go around this mountain again, because you're sick of being look, death is coming sooner for you. We know that that's what's happening. We know that 71% of people that are obese have a 71% greater chance of getting cancer. It's not looking good. So you need to do something, whether it's me or Justin, or go read somebody else. We don't care. Just start making strides in the right direction. Put down the crap. It's done your health no good, and you know that. Justin, thank you so very much for this. I'm just really appreciate you reaching out to me, and I get these kind of emails all the time, and I just delete them. But then when I saw your name, I was like, oh my gosh, hi. So this was great, and I appreciate you. And guys, we'll see you on the next one. Take care.